Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtada Khan, your host, and today I want to talk to you about the growing power of Zohran Mamdani in the United States. Uh, the political environment in the country has changed dramatically after the primaries in New York, where uh, anybody and everybody that Zohran Mamdani nominated have won their primary elections. In the United States, elections happen in stages. We have essentially a two-party system, and if you want to represent one of the parties and contest for a seat, whether it is for a state legislation or the governor or executive legislature at the federal level or the state level, whatever it is, the formula is simple. You contest the primaries of your political party. Like if you want to run, like if I wanted to run for some office, then I would probably first contest the primaries in the Democratic Party and become the nominee of the Democratic Party, and then try and compete with the Republicans to win that seat. So the primaries are very important, especially these days where the states are pretty lopsided. There are some states which are very green, some blue, some are very red. And what is happening is that if you win the primaries in the very blue state, like Delaware, for example, if you win the Democratic primaries, you're 95% sure to win the main election. So in very blue states, in the Democratic primaries, Democratic socialists have been winning elections. And that is very, very important, a development that is scaring. So, for example, in New York, Brad Lander, Daria Lisa Chevalier, Claire Waldes, and Milat Kairos in Colorado have won elections, defeating long-standing incumbents of the Democratic establishment. So there is a rebellion going on inside the Democratic Party. The left wing of the party is hammering, threatening, and basically beating the establishment. And look, this is not a contest which is, shall we say, something to be joked about. What it tells you is that more and more Americans are aligning behind democratic socialism, behind Bernie Sanders, behind Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, behind the charisma of Zohran Mamdani. So there is a tremendous revolution taking place which can potentially change America. And there are some fundamentally interesting aspects, because what has happened to the Democratic Party is that it was supposed to be a party for the marginalized, for the poor, for those whom the system leaves behind, for the working class Americans. But Democratic establishment has sold its soul to two entities, one to the Israeli lobby and the other to corporate sector. In the previous presidential elections, billionaire Trump did not raise as much money from corporate America as Kamala Harris did. Corporate America was voting for a Democratic president. Why? And of course, Israel. It seems that Israel controls this country to a great extent. You can't even say this. We talk about freedom as important thing, freedom of speech, etc. It is stunning that Chuck Schumer, the leader of the Democrats in the Senate, says, and I quote him, "My only job," this is what he said, "my only job is to keep the left of America pro-Israel." You have people like Fetterman, who are senators on Democratic ticket, and they vote with Donald Trump and align themselves with Netanyahu rather than with ordinary citizens of America. So what has happened is that America's democratic establishment, the leadership of the Democratic Party, is sold to the corporate world and has, to quote Joe Biden, an ironclad support for Israel, not an ironclad commitment to the working class, not an ironclad commitment to improving the lives of ordinary Americans who are struggling to make ends meet. The biggest crisis in America today is the crisis of affordability. We don't talk about that. We want to spend billions of dollars in wars in Ukraine, which Joe Biden spent nearly $300 billion. And then we spend billions of dollars. Joe Biden, on his way out, gave over $17 billion to Israel to commit a genocide in Gaza, protected it, lied to American citizens, kept saying, "I'm a Zionist." Who cares? You're an American. You're supposed to work for American citizens first. So even today, when you hear people like CNN and others interviewing candidates who have won their primaries, which means the Democratic voters want people like this in their office, what does CNN reporters ask them? Do you believe in Israel's right to exist? No, I believe in eliminating the potholes in my neighborhood. Why does somebody who is running for the state of New York's legislature have to pledge loyalty to a foreign country? The kind of people we have in our parliament at this moment, they are trying to destroy and subvert American democracy in the future. They're so worried that the Americans will not support Israel. So they are taking steps to ensure that no matter what Americans think, America and American taxpayers' money will be used for Israeli wars. That is what is going on right now in the Congress. They're trying to integrate the US military with the Israeli military. So there's only one military. So when Israel commits genocide, it's as if we are committing genocide. And why are they in a rush to do this? Because they want to take away the democratic rights of future Americans. The current democratic establishment does not trust future Americans. Just let this sink in, that the Democrats, forget about the Republicans, okay? They don't care about democracy. We know that. They are trying their best to subvert democracy, to subvert the electoral process. It's all very obvious. Donald Trump, in order to eliminate certain aspects of American electoral process, has blocked the housing bill, which has already passed both houses, which are controlled by Republicans, by the way. But they are surely going to get votes from Democrats to ensure that future Americans who will become citizens of America, children today, will not be able to control their own destiny, their own taxpayers' money, because today's Schumers, who are more loyal to a foreign country or are more loyal to corporations, are out there to destroy America. And Americans are beginning to realize this. And that's why we are seeing a revolution led by Bernie Sanders, led by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Zohran Mamdani, and fearless leaders. These are young people. Just listening to them on television, the way they are coming out, it's so beautiful to watch. You can see the filth of corruption. And I'm talking about, I don't spend too much time watching Fox News or right-wing YouTubers and influencers. I don't even watch Tucker Carlson. Apparently, he's very popular with Muslims these days. I mean, I might watch some of his clips that come in, but I have not ever watched his entire show. I couldn't even bear to watch his interview with Mike Huckabee. This is America's ambassador to Israel. He says that if it wasn't for Israel, America would not exist. That is the kind of establishment we have in the Republican Party. So forget about them. It's an Israel-first political party. Ted Cruz said the only reason why he ran for the Senate was to protect Israel. This is what American politicians say to win elections in America. Ted Cruz has no values. He ran away when Texas was suffering from some natural disasters. But he thinks that Americans are so stupid, so foolish that they don't know what America First means. This is the America First Party. And you have a senator who says that the only reason I ran for the US Senate is to ensure that Israel is protected. He didn't run for the Senate to protect America, to do something good for some Americans. No, he was interested in protecting a foreign country. And I think that's what he's going to say when he runs for office. So just follow the AIPAC tracker and see how much money he gets from the Israeli lobby, and you understand who he speaks for. That is what the democratic socialists are changing. So we are experiencing this. And one fascinating example of this is Madam Kamala Harris. So there's this interesting article in Axios. Okay, let me see if I can walk you through this. So the Axios article says that Kamala Harris, who's trying to run for president again, I was so excited when she became the nominee for 1 week, and then after that, I just completely turned off when she was asked this question: "Is there anything that Joe Biden did that you disagree with?" And she said, "I can't think of anything." And Joe Biden was presiding over a genocide in Gaza, sending arms, sending generals to advise the Israeli army, sending billions of dollars, using veto power in the UN, protecting Israel out and out while it was committing genocide in Gaza. And let me tell you, nobody better than the American president will know exactly what's going on, given the closeness of American intelligence and the military with the Israeli intelligence. If anyone should know other than Netanyahu himself, it has to be the American president, and yet he supported that. And she says she said she had no disagreement with that. She needs to own up. She is one of the persons responsible for the genocide in Gaza. Kamala Harris is responsible for the genocide in Gaza, whether she likes it or not. She was number 2 person in this country when it happened. She should be prosecuted for war crimes. She should not be a candidate to become the president of any country anywhere in the world. So now she reaches out to Mamdani and pro-Palestinian activists in order to whitewash herself, because she still wants to be president of the United States. Apparently, she's very popular in the South. So there's all of these people who she spoke to. She spoke to Jim Zogby. I've known Jim Zogby for more than 30 years. He's a member of the Democratic National Committee who has spoken all his life for Palestinian rights. So she's reached out to him. She's reached out to Mamdani. If you remember, the entire movement, that uncommitted movement, it did not back her. She spoke to some of their leaders. She basically, this is what she's going to do. She's going to say, when I become president, I will help and do this for Palestinians, do that for Palestinians. And let me tell you, she will do nothing. She will turn her back because we don't have what Israel has, billionaires who will give her a lot of money. She will then sell her soul because she's a Democrat from the establishment. She did this. She did this about Medicare for all. Kamala Harris made a lot of progressive promises, like Joe Biden's promises. I will re-enter JCPOA, I will do this, I will do that. Nothing. His foreign policy in the Middle East is identical to Donald Trump's. And more pernicious, more Palestinians were killed. Remember this, most of the genocide in Gaza, over 70,000 people civilians, women and children who were killed in Gaza, over 21,000 children were killed, and over 44,000 were injured and maimed. Children with American bombs have all been done under Joe Biden. Do not forget that. If you can remember other genocides, people are now talking about the Armenian genocide, which is more than 100 years ago. We should not forget a genocide which is still ongoing, but not with the same intensity as it did when Joe Biden was president and Kamala Harris was vice president. So can we trust her to do anything meaningful? No. She came and made a whole presentation to American Muslims saying, I'm going to come up with a national strategy to combat Islamophobia. She did nothing. Absolutely nothing. She will make promises and she will not deliver once she becomes president. Can she be trusted? No. First, she needs to be held responsible for her role in the genocide in Gaza. She, in her book, tried to whitewash herself, tried to blame Joe Biden and saying, oh, he didn't have empathy, the intensity with which he said, I'm a Zionist. He never was able to muster the same degree of empathy and emotion and credibility while talking about Palestinian rights. But did she? Did she? Any American who does not acknowledge that there has been a genocide in Gaza do not vote for them. That means they have no human empathy. They have no. You don't have to be anti-Israel or anti-Semitic, God forbid. As someone who has experienced and suffered from Islamophobia most of my life, I know how terrible it is to be discriminated, not for what you do, but who you are, for your color, for your race, for your religious beliefs. So things are changing in America. Hopefully, who knows? They may last, they may not last. It's quite possible that the Democratic establishment will try and defeat their own candidates because they're more loyal to Israel. Because one thing which is constant about all democratic socialists is they stand for free Palestine. That is what all of them say. But what is interesting is that they are not obsessed with foreign policy. That is one of their stance. What they're committed to do is to work for the poor, the marginalized, the suffering in their constituencies, and a lot of Americans are suffering today. We live in a world with two Americas. One America whose per capita income is more than $150,000 to $180,000, the top 30-40%. And the other America whose per capita income is less than $30,000. And this America is suffering. Housing has become very difficult. Making ends meet, childcare. Imagine you're a single mother and you can't afford childcare, then how can you work? And if you can't work, you can't support your kids. Housing has gone through the roof. It's impossible to buy a house. The American dream has become something unthinkable for a majority of Americans. And what do our leaders and what are our media talking about? Oh, do you think Israel has a right to exist? That's the main thing that CNN wants to talk about. And this is before Barry Weiss has taken over CNN. Now imagine what's going to happen after Barry Weiss takes over CNN. That's the only thing they will talk about. Right now, that's the first thing they talk about. Then they talk about other things. And that is why it's very important for you to go out there and vote for Democratic Socialists. If you are not a billionaire, if you're not making $250,000 per year outside big cities, and in big cities, if you're not making $400,000, then you must support Democratic Socialists, otherwise your life will not become better. It's as simple as that. So it's interesting to see Kamala Harris going there, and I'm sure she's going to. She couldn't even say his name when she was asked the question whether she endorses him. The Democratic establishment did not endorse Zohran Mamdani. They kept spending money and running candidates from inside the Democratic Party as independent to undermine him. Zohran had to beat the Democratic Party twice to become the mayor of New York. And I think all these Democratic Socialists who have won the Democratic primary will have to beat the Democratic establishment 2 times to win. Because they're going to come and subvert it. People like Fetterman, what kind of a man is he? I just can't believe it. We need to impeach senators who make some promises and don't fulfill it. Go to the APAC tracker and see how much money your potential candidate is getting to lobby for a foreign country. Remember that debate when Zohran Mamdani and his competitors were asked whether they will go to Israel after they win elections and how proud each one of them was. You're running for the mayor of a city, but all you can talk about is a foreign country. You don't want people like them to be your leaders because they're not going to serve for you. They've already sold their soul. Most of them don't believe what they're doing. Let me tell you this. Kamala Harris is not a Zionist like Joe Biden is. She's what in India we used to say a politician like this, who sees which way the wind blows and then their values are represented by that, which is actually a good thing. Which means that you will look at public opinion polls or you will listen to your constituents and say, oh, my constituents want me to focus on child care. My constituents want me to focus on reducing the cost of living. And you work on that. But the problem is the American democracy has been fundamentally corrupted by money. So this is your choice, right? Elon Musk or some politicians, rich man like that, comes to you and says, I will give you $3 million, $4 million. That will help you win the next elections. And we'll find other ways of giving you a lot of money that you can use for personal purposes also. Google Clarence Thomas and see how much money he has made and what his salary has been as just look at all of these politicians. Look at how much money Nancy Pelosi made while being in the Congress. How do they make so much money? How do they become worth hundreds of millions of dollars? When their salaries are less than $200,000 a year and they maintain 2 households. When Obama became president the second time, I actually considered applying for a job in the administration. And then I did the math. Whatever job I would have got, I could not afford 2 households. Like I could not commute every day from Delaware to Washington, D.C. So I would have to have at least a minimum 1 apartment or a shared apartment in Washington, D.C., where I could work 5 days a week and then come back home to Delaware. So paying the mortgage in Delaware and paying the rent for an apartment in D.C. and working for the federal government, whether it was the National Security Council or elsewhere, I could not do that. And I couldn't pack and take my kids and my wife and my mother all with me to Washington, D.C. So I never seriously applied for any jobs with the federal government in Washington because I can't afford to maintain 2 households, and I make as much money or very close to what an elected member of the US Congress does. But they do this. How do they do this? I think that is the fundamental evil in American politics, money. And the fact that we have made it easy for money to be used by our politicians, and this protracted election period that we have, where you have to spend a whole year campaigning or even more for presidents to become the president. Even for Congress these days, one of the primaries of the Republican, $32 million were spent. They say AIPAC spent $9 or $10 million to defeat him. One of the big critics of Donald Trump. So now Kamala Harris is talking to people. When she was nominated at the Democratic convention, she brought so many pro-Israeli speakers, but she did not allow even one person who would speak for Palestinian rights, people who have even endorsed them. Even her colleagues like Rashida Tlaib were not allowed to speak at the Democratic convention because they didn't want to spoil the show for Kamala Harris. The Democratic Party was afraid to show any sympathy for the thousands of civilians who were dying in Gaza. This is what they think about the American voter. If we turn out to be human towards Palestinians, if we consider the Palestinians as human beings, then we will not win elections, or we will not get the money from the rich people to win elections. So let's not allow them even a voice. We'll destroy our universities because students there are becoming pro-Palestinians. We will destroy our own party because the candidates who are winning the primaries are pro-Palestinian. It's a very sad scenario, but also very encouraging. This is the time for people to stand up. Anyway, all the best to all the social democrats who are out there. No, sorry, democratic socialists who are out there. There's no point in titles. You can call them whatever you like, communist, you can call them what, but just remember this: they are the ones who are worried about you. And when they go to Congress or become mayor or go to the Senate, like Abdul Al Sayed, inshallah, in Michigan, they will be fighting for you, not for some foreign country, not for some religious, political, global agenda. The Democratic establishment, the Republican Party, is like the Taliban. Their entire foreign policy and agenda is now motivated by biblical dreams and stuff like that. Listen to Mike Huckabee. Why is he America's ambassador if we don't share his ideas and if he doesn't share our values? Because somebody gave a lot of money to Donald Trump? So remember this, doesn't matter what the labels are. Ask yourself this question. Do these people understand, to begin with, what your problem is? Your life is not going to get better if Israel kills 10,000 more children in Gaza. Your children are not going to get a good education or a good housing. You will not be able to pay your grocery bills if that happens. We are spending billions of dollars in killing people and waging wars there. The US was spending $1 billion against Iran in the first few days when there was military action taking place, in a war in which the US intelligence said Iran was not an imminent threat to the US. Who are we fighting that war for? For Americans? No. Anyway, thank you for watching Khanversations. I'm sorry I started this show 3 to 4 minutes late. That was because I was recording a video where I'm congratulating everybody in America and elsewhere who care about America on the 250th birthday of the United States of America. Tomorrow, America will be 250 years. America has done many great things for the world. It has done some extremely horrible things. So in my video, which I shall post at soon, I was going to post it at midnight. It's already midnight here. Today is July 4th. So happy birthday, America, 250th year. In spite of all my critique of American foreign policy and American politicians, I love this country. I'm an American, proud to be an American. And so definitely watch that show in which I talk about 10 great things that America has done for all of humanity and for all of the world, and 5 horrible things that we did. Okay, so please watch that. It should be up in a few hours. And thank you for listening to me. Until next time, I'm your host, Muqtadar Khan. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share this with your socio-political network. Until next time, I'm your host, Muqtadar Khan. Take care.